Welcome to the Rezolve.ai webinar series. Before we get started, let us quickly go over a few housekeeping items. We love interactive events, so please feel free to ask any question in the Q&A section, which can be accessed at the bottom of your screen. We'll answer those questions towards the end during the Q&A session. If there are more questions than we can answer during the session, we'll get back to you, we promise. This webinar is being recorded, and a recording link will be shared after the event. Thanks again for joining today, and let us get today's session started, and welcome our host.
Hi, everyone. This is Manish, and thanks a lot for joining this afternoon or morning. I appreciate it. Hopefully, you are staying safe and doing all you can to get a good start to 2021. So today we are going to talk about a very important topic, which is leapfrogging employee support and productivity, which is very near and dear to my heart. And we'll try to, we have broken the section down into 5 different topics, and we'll try to cover it as quickly as we can. So the first topic really talks about challenges and trends, right? What is going on around us that makes 2021 a different year, and how does it affect our planning for 2021, especially for employee support, employee productivity? What are we going to do? How are we going to handle that? So talking about a few trends, the first, obvious thing in 2021, we do hope that a lot of us will be coming back to work. But there's no guarantee, how many, right? If some companies are going to come 100%, are they going to have some people come on to work and so on and so forth? So it's different for different companies. Salesforce actually just declared that there is no traditional 9-to-5 job at all. So it's all very interesting, and we'll have to deal with it. This by itself throws some challenges to us. Part of the challenge is, if you think from an employee perspective, employee, initially there was this, change towards going towards, remote working and making it work and so on and so forth. But as we keep going along, what we are going to find is people are struggling to, everyone is struggling in all different ways. People want to make sure that they are productive. That's one amazing thing. Employees are trying to make sure that they are productive, and therefore it is very important that we support them, right? Everyone wants to make sure that they produce what is required of them. Second thing, if people are trying to avoid dealing with enterprise friction. What is enterprise friction? I think all of us know it's one of those entities that all of us know what I'm talking about, but we don't talk about it often enough, right? Because enterprise friction is everywhere. Enterprise friction is ability or inability to get things done with the speed at which we need to get those get those things done, right? When you're trying to get something done and you cannot get it done, that is what enterprise friction is, due to multiple reasons. And third thing, lastly, on the emotional side, people want to make sure that they're not feeling isolated, right? Because everyone is feeling isolated to some degree or the other. So these are the kind of things that employees are kind of looking for. Now, going further, and what are the other things which are going to impact 2021? Everyone is using more collaborative tools today than earlier, right? Zoom, Teams, Slack, Skype, whatever, right? But the use has increased, and I generally give a lot of data points for this, but I don't think I need to. I mean, everyone is seeing that firsthand. This is an important trend that we need to kind of acknowledge, because it will make a difference in how we are dealing with it going forward, right? It is going to change. It is one of those movements, like a mobile movement, or which is going to change how we move forward. The next thing that makes a lot of difference nowadays is conversational interface at home, right? You wouldn't typically think that that is something that is going to make a change in your enterprise life, but I do believe it is going to make a difference in your enterprise life. For example, all of us are using conversational interface at home, right? We are using, Google Home or, Alexa and whatnot. Show me who's on the front porch, or heat up the home as I'm driving home. All those kind of things are happening. Earlier, it used to only happen to people like Bill Gates. He could have done all those kind of things in this fancy mansion, but now a lot of us are actually getting into the bandwagon, playing the music, stuff like that. Now the question is, how is it going to impact us? Well, you're working from home, your home interfaces, the technology that you use is amazing, right? And then you go to office, and these are, I like to call them rectangular interfaces, right? Like it is a problem, right? Eventually people are going to demand, if they are already not doing, hey, there has to be a better way to do this. This is what I'm dealing with is way too stupid, right? Like something like that. The next thing is, another trend that we have seen is employees have started to ask for a integrated service desk, right? What they're saying is, um, I mean, there is, it's so interesting. Today morning, I was talking to someone and he said, in 5 to 10 seconds now, the way you're showing your product, you can get an answer to get an issue resolved. It used to take me 5 to 10 seconds to figure out which phone number I need to call, because there are different phone numbers, different emails for different kind of help you need to do. HR is different, IT is different, project management is different. So in the time it typically takes for people to figure out where they need to go to even get help, because that used to be the first step. Nowadays support is available in that time frame. So that's very interesting. I noted, and we are increasingly seeing this. If you read Gartner, Forrester reports, and search for enterprise service management, you will see what I mean. Finally, and this is very interesting, the automation is need for automation is always going to increase, right? It's so funny that you might think that only in bad time people are trying to automate more, or when they're growing they're trying to automate more. The truth is they're trying to automate more no matter how the company is doing, right? It changes the level of velocity and urgency, but right now people are trying to automate no matter what. So these are the 4 or 5 key trends, right, that we see emerging that are forcing a change. And I'm going to end this section by talking about a quote from someone. This is on LinkedIn, someone that I'm connected to. She made a comment. She said, earlier we used to say, foosball tables and catered food and, etc. That was a perk. That is a perk that we used to give to employees. Hey, we do this, and, but now what are the new perks, right? The new perks are how easy it is for employees to get their work done. That is a new perk, right? Because even if you're working from home, or when you come back to office, you work from office, if you can get what you're supposed to do as quickly as possible so that you can go back to your family and do other things, that is the biggest perk that you can give, and that is how you'll attract better talent over a period of time. So I really like this quote, so I include this in my presentations nowadays. It's really it hits home what is happening, and these trends that I mentioned about are something that we need to acknowledge and understand what's going on around us, because these are impacting the next just the next things which are coming down the road, around the bend, as they call it. So the second topic, by the way, before I go to second topic, we will run a small poll just to get some insights, if you agree with us, or there are different priorities. So Vijay, do you mind pulling the first poll out? And if you can react to that poll, that'll be great. We'll share the results of the poll with everyone. I'll give you 10-15 seconds to run this poll. Thank you so much. Hopefully everyone had a chance to do that poll. So let's go to the second thing, right? Like, why is legacy, technologies and legacy way to deal with the problems that I said won't work? So more specifically, I'm going to go into a legacy technology side. So if you think about it, employee, right, needs to do a lot of things. They need to upskill, they need to access knowledge, they need to maybe run a process like employee onboarding. They need to do perform a task, maybe like getting a password reset. They need to handle some issues that they might have. This is what employee needs, and the reason the employee feels like they're sitting on an island is because that's how it feels to a lot of employees nowadays, right? They're sitting on an island. Then what happens from this island, they try to go to what is a knowledge island, right, in your company, to get help, maybe a SharePoint or intranet portal or self-service assets and whatnot. And sometimes they don't get help there. It feels like a 404 error to them, right? And sometimes they get so tuned of not getting help, they don't even go here first, right? So what do then? They actually reach out to your service desk. Now some service desk might be formal like IT and maybe even HR, but then everything else is informal, right? For many companies actually. So now you're doing your emails, your phone calls, your back and forth to try to get help to get the thing that needs to be done, right? And that can be very frustrating. People are not happy with this kind of situation. Put another way, employee, by the way, we tell employees, go to the self-service assets and go to the ticketing system, create your own ticket, right? We'll respond to you. We bought a very nice ticketing system for you. And nobody does that. They instead keep calling and writing emails which are not complete and so on and so forth, adding to what I call enterprise friction, right? So this is the existing model, right? Is data and statistics show that 80% of employees, 80% of issues are reported by phone or email. They're not reported by system, and self-help assets, their usability is extremely low, right? That is, these are the facts. Um, the second, so this is how our current system is failing. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, I didn't even mention about knowledge management and so on and so forth. So that brings us to additional point. What are the overall area of weaknesses, right? So I talked about service desk problem, but what are the overall area of weaknesses, especially for small to medium enterprises? I'm talking about credit unions and banks, community banks, and smaller enterprise, financial services companies, those kind of companies. So, in my humble opinion, these are the 5 or 6 things which really are impacting them. First of all, and I could not emphasize this enough. Remember, like 5 years back or 10 years back, everyone was just talking about data, and data was the new liquid gold, so to say. And there were new roles coming up. Data governance committees were all over the place. There were data stewards, right? And new concepts we were learning, and one single source of truth, and all that. Now, I think that is all great, but what we missed as organizations, we missed the importance of knowledge. We really have overlooked knowledge, and I'm surprised how long we managed to overlook knowledge, like long enough. Where is your knowledge? Your knowledge is sometimes with people, right? Sometime in some document written in SharePoint, which is long forgotten. Sometime it is just in email. I mean, is this how we should be treating knowledge? And is this, I believe knowledge is the new liquid gold. And if you are on this webinar today, watch out, in next 2 to 3 years, everyone is just going to talk about this. So knowledge management, enterprise knowledge management is really not done well. And I do believe that there's a weakness for most of the organizations, which is easily fixable, by the way, right? Given the new technologies that are there. Second, intranet and employee portal, some credit unions have, some don't. Even those who have, that is a static content, really doesn't do anything. And anyway, we talked about how employees have started going towards teams and whatnot, right? So the second area of weakness is, how do you communicate with the employees, right? Do you write emails which they don't read? Are you hoping to post something on intranet? That's an area of weakness. Third, I already talked about it, enough enterprise friction, right? Which is a output of many things which goes on in our day-to-day life. Fourth is speed. You would think that smaller organizations would be able to take decisions faster and adopt technologies quicker and so on and so forth, like fintech companies, which they are competing with nowadays. But oftentimes that is not the case, right? The speed enterprise speed is missing, and you want enterprise speed, but you cannot achieve enterprise speed as long as all your employees are not moving together with you, right? I mean, I might be thinking anything, but there are other hundreds of employees that have to move with me in that direction. And finally, change management, right? You really don't have a very effective way. You have your emails, and you have your nowadays even conference room meetings are gone, right? So you can't even just get everyone in a conference. Of course you can do Zoom, but these are the things which are weak today, and these are the areas which will make your strategy, implementation of a strategy, difficult. If you're, for example, onboarding a new online banking system, it's going to create even more challenge for you. Everything will become more challenging because of these kind of weaknesses in the enterprise. So we talked enough about what is going on, but maybe we should talk about the solution. But before I go there, I just got result of the last poll, and the result of the last poll says 83% of the respondent agree that significant upgrade to employee support. So 83% said that they want, they are thinking about doing employee support, and that does not surprise me at all, because I think that's a, you will see in 2021 a lot of focus going there. We have one more small poll which I want to run. If you'll indulge me in that, Vijay, can you run the next poll? We always are interested in gathering information and then sharing it with people, and kind of verifies very often what we are thinking. So I'll be quiet for 10 seconds while you do this. Great. Hopefully we're able to do it. So let's now go to the new model, right? So what's the new model? We talked about all kind of problems. We talked about weakness. We almost did a SWOT analysis of what's going on today. So what is the answer? What seems to be the solution? One thing I just want to mention is that you cannot treat employee support in the old fashion, right? Like earlier, what used to happen, I don't know if some people on the webinar remember, we used to buy a ticketing system and think that we got service desk. That is not true. But just buying a ticketing system was not equivalent of setting up a service desk. Service desk used to be more than, and is more than, a just buying a ticketing system, right? Similarly, today what people need today by the way of support is not just a service desk or not just an IT help desk, right? You cannot just set up an IT help desk, right? And imagine that you have solved employees problem, right? Employees problems are manifold, and they need support in multiple ways. And 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 therefore, the argument that I'm making is that, and by the way, this is what we call enterprise service management, right? So I believe that enterprise service management, especially more specifically AI driven enterprise service management, AIESM, is the way to go. And that is bigger than what used to be your service desk, and definitely bigger than what used to be your incident management. So the new model works like this. If employee needs help, they go to Teams or whatever channel that you're using, and that's where they get all their help. They need information, they go there. They need HR help, they go there. They need IT help, they go there. So there is a small 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter space of an app in Teams, right? Where they go. You tell your employees, listen, this is your new internet. This is where you go to get help. If you need help, you go there. The system will then figure out what to do with you. And basically what system does is you can just conversationally talk to the system. It will have a conversation. It will get all the information that you want. It will resolve your issue if it can. If it cannot, then it will go to the experts, and there will be different experts. It can help you live conversation with the expert. It can facilitate that. By the way, ticket creation, ticket updation, all that will be done by the system. So few things happen in this new model, right? One thing that happened is employee does not even need to know what a ticketing system looks like. I call this concept invisible ticketing system. So employees don't need to, go to a ticketing system. That's great because they never wanted to go in there in the first place. Second thing, obviously you are bringing a level of automation, goes without saying. You are basically providing a resolution between 10 to 15 seconds, right? You are either solving the problem in 10 to 15 seconds or bringing someone into the conversation in 10 to 15 seconds. So that's the new model which is emerging, and it reduces the complexity because you don't have to by the way, I don't know if you noticed, there's no phone in this entire new model, right? There's no phone calls you need to make. So don't need to think, where do I go to get help? Well, you go to one place, that's where you get help. So the bigger picture looks like this. You whether you are trying to upskill, knowledge, process, task, anything that you want to do, you go to one place. That one place connects you to everything, and then that one place is connected in the back end by enterprise apps. If you want to do, it has capability of doing automation, task automation, process automation, knowledge automation, and you can bring SMEs in the backend to support it. You can connect it to API to multiple systems. But this one solution actually becomes a window through which employee productivity is going up, right, one by one. And you can keep adding to the level of automation. There's no end to the level of automation you can do in solutions like these. And that, I believe, is the new model. The By the way, the automation, when I talk about automation, it's important to notice, and again, I'll date myself when I talk about it, but some of us remember how the automation projects used to be, at least right in the past, where you'll go buy one of the licenses for one of the expensive tools and then hire people and or have consultants, and then they will say, oh, it is going to take 7 months and $350,000 to do this small piece of automation. And by the way, I cannot guarantee the outcome of the project. So 7 months might well become 10 months, and $350,000 might become, and then also you don't know the outcome. So automation in general was difficult, is what I'm trying to say. And there are new ways in which this automation is getting easier, better, new kind of interface, all conversational AI, and that is changing the game. So even what automation used to be is changing, and we as enterprise leaders need to kind of take note of that. What is going on, how things are getting automated in a different fashion. So hopefully that kind of made sense. So we are going to talk about some outcomes now, right? So the outcomes basically become, you can automate, right, and provide conversational interface for everything in your enterprise today, right? Whether it's learning systems, whether it's creating and sharing knowledge, accomplishing everyday tasks, getting help, which is the service desk, collaborating with each other, automating. All of this is now with conversational interface, and that is a concept that people are seeing bits and pieces of this, but they're not kind of forming the complete big picture. Like if I some people, when I talk about conversational AI, they talk about chatbots, right? Sure, chatbots, but chatbots is so 3 years ago, right? This whole technology has moved to a next level where this is becoming automation tool using conversational front end, right? It's not just IT help desk, not just HR help desk, you're all enterprise solution. And that is how I would like enterprise leaders to kind of look at the situation and say, oh wow, this is what is happening. Second thing, interface is completely changing. Like for example, our own product, right, is a Teams native product. So how you reach out to employee, where you reach out to employee, how employee reaches out to you is all changing. You want to run a survey, boom, the survey is being run in Teams, right? You want to introduce a new automation, suddenly it is available on Teams. So the location has changed, right? It's no longer your intranet or some applications that you have to go to. It is actually becoming Teams and Slack and all those places, and for us, very much team centric. The outcomes that you can expect from such a such a transformation, by the way, are on they will play out on two sides, right? So on one side, they will play out on the employee productivity, as you can guess, right? So employee productivity, typically we did some actually studies, and we found out employees tend to save around anywhere between 15 to 25 minutes per day if you implement solutions like this. That means if you have 1,000 employees, you are saving around 45% days every day. It is significant, 4.5% improvement on an average in employee productivity. And that's huge, right? I mean, we do a lot more. We spend a lot of money to get 2% achievement. Around 3 to 4% or 5% is really, really good. And the second thing, that side of the coin, is of course the service desk itself, right? The various service desk, various parts, where we are seeing that you can automate 40 to 50% of the task, right? That a typical service desk will do, and that is huge too, right? I mean, uh, I'm not even adding intangible things here. For example, your now enterprise knowledge will be in one place, right? And it will be automated, and there's a way to manage it, which we're never doing that. I'm not even adding those things. But even without adding those, if you just go into pure business case that we have to build some time to talk to senior management, the business case is huge and amazing. And by the way, I'll go back to the beginning of the presentation where we said, the connection to retaining great employees, right, is this. This is how you're going to retain great employees. This is how you're going to make sure the employee productivity is great. This is how you're going to make sure that you are competitive. And by the way, you're providing great member support and customer support. That was the whole, introduction to what we think is happening in this space. And the reason we called it leapfrogging was because we think you don't have to do, you don't have to take this 5%, you don't have to say, oh, my, wherever I am, maybe I can just improve just a little bit. I think it's time to look at strategies which will allow you to just move away from one to another. With that, I'm coming to an end. But before I go anywhere, we'll take some questions. But before even I take some questions, let me ask you, Vijay. Vijay, what did you? I think you already sent me the output of the second test as well. And this says poll two: 74% of the respondents have said that MS Teams is their primary collaboration tool. 12% have picked Zoom, and 9% have said Slack, and then some 5% have said others, right? So it is Teams, and Teams is true because a lot of smaller and mid-sized organizations, Teams is free first of all, right, as opposed to Slack. So and Microsoft is putting a lot more effort into Teams. So Teams's adoption has been shooting up. I have a question from Steven. You said that internet portals are dead. Are you sure that products such as yours will completely replace internet portal? Well, I think so. I really believe so because nobody goes to internet portal anymore, right? I mean, if you take an employee and just somehow you can do time motion study or whatever they used to call, you're going to find that most of the employees are on collaboration tool apart from the application that they're working on. Let's say if someone is on Tableau, maybe Tableau is their primary application, which is where they spend 80% of the time, but they might be spending 30, 40, 50, 60% of the time doing just on Teams or Skype or whatever your organization is using. I truly believe that we are actually already seeing this, right? So that's one question. Oh, there's one more question. Um, if you're undergoing large platform upgrades, how are these kind of solutions helpful? Well, if you're doing large upgrades, let's say I was mentioning like an online banking platform upgrade and whatnot, one of the biggest challenges is change management. How do you communicate the new knowledge to all the employees? What happens if the knowledge that you're communicating has to change? And I truly believe that, what are you going to do? Are you going to run old kind of LMS systems? I mean, they are very unwieldy and bulky. Are you going to write emails and hope that people will just, read all the emails? All those things don't work, right? We have changed as human beings. We pay less attention to these kind of things. So you need really a different way to provide the information when people need it, right information at the right time, to the right person. That is our motto, right? That's very, very critical in the knowledge management aspect of the problem. Well, I want to see if there are any other questions, and if there are not, let's see how we are doing in time. We are at 1:58 Eastern, so I think we did well on the time. I appreciate whoever has joined today. If you have any additional question, feel free to chat with us, talk to us. We have a couple of things coming up. One, we have a workshop coming up in Ceolytics, right? Which is meant for senior management. It's being run by Hari Aburi, who's a very, very smart person. He has done years and years of research in this space, and works with some of the top educational institute in the country. And this, for whoever is attending this event, we are giving this free, this workshop. Generally it's a paid workshop. If you use the passcode pass to register, you can attend this free. It's a 2 session, I think, in February 16th and February 23rd. So you should try to attend it. It might be useful if you're part of senior management. Second thing, we will be there at Ceolytics 2021. Whoever is from the credit union world or community bank world, you might see us there. So we are looking forward to seeing you there as well. Finally, there are some upcoming webinars and whatnot that we are doing. If you so feel inclined, please join. And thank you so much for joining this session today. Hopefully you have a wonderful rest of the week and stay safe.